Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be building a Bullett V5 carbon fiber stand-up jet ski. About a year ago, a friend of mine rode mine, fell in love with it, went to Bullett, bought himself a hull. We just got a phone call saying that it was ready to be picked up, so we're going to head down to Bullett and pick it up here in a little bit, so stay tuned. Well, here we are at Bullett Racing, picking up the latest V5 here. Gonna take it home and put her together. Okay guys, so here we are. We're gonna do a tour of the V5 bottom real quick here. I want to kind of show it off while we had it upside down, putting the pump and everything in. We're trying to get it all buttoned up to go to jet trim, because we're gonna get jet trim put on it here pretty quickly. But I want to kind of show and demonstrate later on some videos down the road here. We're gonna do videos of some of these old vintage boats. I'm gonna show you what's wrong with the intake tract. So I wanted to kind of do a kind of preemptive thing here and show you guys the right way to do it, as Bullett was the pioneers of this back in the early 90s. And when I hooked up with Bullett in the turn of the century, they're the ones that shared this stuff with me. And I did this on all my old race skis, and this is why I was successful in my racing career. You can see down here, down the hole here. I don't know if you guys can see, actually, you can actually see the pump, where the pump goes. It's a straight shot. See that my straight edge is down there. It goes straight to the pump. Right, we come across the bottom of the boat here, and we go right down into the. On the old skis, this does not happen this way, and this is a very big drawback to the old style skis. And we'll show you why. We make parts now. Well, we don't. Pro Watercraft actually makes parts now to fix this very easily. We used to take and fill all this in down here with Bondo and fiberglass to change the shape of the pump shoe. Now we don't do that anymore. Or the pump tract, I'm sorry. We don't do that anymore. We actually, there's parts made to do that because it's such a dramatic difference. We do that on all old skis. And later on down the road, we'll show you guys why. But I wanted to show that while we had the boat apart now so that we can demonstrate it later. But in the meantime, we got a pump shoe here. All this stuff is awesome, Bullett. And next time you see this here, we'll have the pump all installed in the ride plate and we'll be ready to go. Ready to flip it over and ready for jet trim. Okay everybody, here we go. We're done. Pump is done. Nozzle's loose. That all looks good. Cable's done. Cable's loose for now. We'll tighten all that up later when we put on the handle pole. This thing's good to go. We're going to go ahead and flip it and we'll put it on the trailer. It's ready for jet trim. All right guys, here we are at jet trim. We're picking up the V5. Some nice fresh mats on it. Looks really good. Turned out nice. So I'll take it home and start putting her together. Okay, as you can see, we've got the handle pole installed. We went with the Bullett extruded aluminum handle pole here. I really didn't like installing it. It was a little more difficult. Okay, it was a lot more difficult than the Rick Roy pole. It still has all the same fundamentals as Rick Roy with the twin tube breather and the round nose superjet handle pole spring, which I really like. I didn't think I was that impressed with it at first, but the more I get to know it, it's a fantastic handle pull. I'm very impressed with it. It's got a tapered bearing in the steering and it's like butter. As you can see, we got the ignition switch installed. We got our fuel tank installed. We got our fuel filler all done. We got a battery box. This is a Summit Racing or Jags. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one it is. But we bought this battery box out of one of the racing stores, and it's like $60 or $70. It was a smoking deal. It ended up being a good setup for this. Water lines ran. We got our electric wire. We got our throttle cable. We got our exhaust in. You can see our exhaust. We've got this. There's a boss on the back of this 1500 motor. We had to bend this around to clearance it. We saw the drive shaft install go well. So we're getting ready to drop this motor in here pretty shortly. We'll be on the water in no time with this ski. All right, guys, so we're going through the donor engine here, and I found something very curious. I started seeing these little marks here, and I've determined that we had a critter. We got some kind of a mouse munching on our ski, which would explain why we're not getting top speed if there's a wire compromise somewhere here. So my first thought was I may have a mouse in my shop, and that kind of freaked me out for a minute. But then I came over here to the start-stop switch, which has never been outside of a Tupperware since we took the motor apart. We find some more teeth marks here. So then I started thinking that on a stock 1500, on a Kawasaki 1500 SXR, under the hood where the access is for the convoluted tubes that run to the bottom of the hull, they're actually big enough to support a mouse. So you guys need to be careful with your 1500s storing them outside, because mice can get in there and make nests. So that blew me away. So we're gonna have to get a new harness coming, and maybe that'll be our smoking gun. Okay, so at a stopping point, we have to go to Bullett and use their bandsaw because it cuts really straight. I want to cut, we have to section this. This is the catch can for the PCV system. We need to shorten it because the draft of the Bullett hole is shorter than the stock 1500. We also need to take this big exhaust collector here. The same scenario, the motor sits farther back on a Bullett hole than a stock SXR. So what we got to do is this whole system here has to be removed, and we'll 90 degree it up so it comes up and over and out the back. So we got to section all this out. We'll cut all this out and machine it. We'll probably time lapse most of it or fast forward it, but I wanted to show you guys what we were doing. Okay, everyone, you can see how far we've removed material all the way down to that boss there. You can see we have a couple voids we'll have to fill in. We'll put a piece of metal here, a piece of aluminum here. We'll weld that in and have it sticking up, protruding, so that it'll go up into here. So when you look down in there, you'll see a piece of metal, piece of aluminum. Looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. We kicked it at an angle this time, so hopefully that'll clear the engine. All right, we'll show you here in a little bit more when we get it prepped for welding. Okay guys, here it is. You see our little marks here? This thing here, we've pushed 1/4 inch rod down here so that they don't have to use a lot of filler metal to do that. We've pushed a piece of plate here between these two voids. That way it maintains that separation for a little while longer. And then when we bring it through here, we're going to take and here's our lines. Make it as simple as I can for the welder. My welds aren't beautiful. I want beautiful welds for this. And then I drilled a boss and put a bolt through, so this is where we'll inject water. We'll bring water from here and inject water into here. And we'll explain why we do that later. But basically, this is our finished product. And it'll stand up like that, and it'll accomplish everything we need. So there's probably 14 or 15 different ways to route water in this engine. And this is probably my 5th or 6th revision after I started playing with this stuff. I actually had my stock SXR 1500. I got it to go into overheat mode, riding too aggressively. So that's when I started chasing this down a little bit. And if you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have been kind of confident, but not very confident on the whole, how well does it work? It's like I have not had any issues with my engine yet, but it's kind of hard to tell without a lot of testing. And I'm not going to go race the circuit for a whole season to determine if that was a good idea or not. That's kind of expensive. But if you guys watched one of my last videos, we actually towed a 3-seater Sea-Doo full of people all the way from the sandbar at 40 mile an hour all the way back to Windsor. We experienced 115-degree heat. We experienced all the different water temperatures from the river to the lake that varied up to 15 degrees. And this thing ran like a champ. So if that's not a harsh environment testing of a cooling system, I don't know what is. So I'm a lot more confident in this cooling system than I was a couple weeks ago. So we're going to stick with this for quite a while until we can find something better. Is that not a thing of beauty or what? So we have the exhaust all done. There is a resonator under the tray. It runs up to here with the pipe, and we bring it up high in the engine compartment so no water gets into the engine. And then we got a cold water. It goes to the bottom of the oil cooler just like the stock water routing. Comes out of the oil cooler and goes around into the exhaust manifold just like stock. The one thing we do modify is this is a water out here out of the head. This is capped off here. We pull the cap and put another hose barb, and we're going to double the efforts of getting water out of the head quicker. And then that'll also run over here to the water out. You can see we got our nice little beautiful Blowsian handle pull all done. We have the hose that comes in the bottom of the motor there, bottom of the stator. Kawasaki learned early on in the 650 days, the stator gets hot with the engine and heat soaks, they'll actually go bad. So on the 750s, they flipped the stator and put it outside the flywheel, trying to cool it down. That didn't work either. So then when the 1100s came along, they decided to water cool the stator, which worked really well. So they followed through with the same thing here. Down in the back of the crank is where the stator is on these motors. They still water cool them. So then they take the water out there and we'll put it into the bottom of the exhaust manifold as well. And then this is the bottom of our cylinder. That's their third water out. So there'll be three pissers out here. And that's one, and then the two for the head. And that requires us to modify the stock exhaust gasket here, exhaust manifold gasket. You can see there's only one hole. But you can see witness marks where there's a void here, and then what we'll do is we'll drill another hole here. We'll drill 2 more here and here. All right, and then we'll duplicate that on every cylinder. And we're not going to drill holes down here because we want this cavity to fill all the way up. This is all exhaust heat right here. So you want these cavities to fill up completely with water to carry that heat away from the exhaust. Otherwise you'll get hot pockets and they'll damage stuff down the road. So then once we modify that gasket, it lets water get into the engine quicker. And then here's our exhaust manifold here. What we did over here, This was our flush outlet here. We're going to repurpose that. That'll be one of our water in there. And then we'll reuse this water in as well. But interestingly enough, this here used to be the other water inlet. We're going to use that as an outlet now because this gasket here has very small holes in it and it meters water very well going away from the motor. We want as much water as we can going into the motor. So as this water is metered going this way, we take it out and I actually put it right back into the exhaust stream here so it doesn't melt this coupler here. That's going to be this coupler inside of here. That's where this goes. We don't want to melt that coupler. So we force water into it and it does a really nice job. It quiets it down a little bit. It's still really loud, but it quiets it down just enough to where it doesn't really destroy your hearing too bad. And that's it. We'll get this put together. We'll get this thing down the water and ride it. We got the coil mounts done. We have the wiring harness in. We have the battery in. Exhaust is all done. Catch bottle's done. We're going to wait to do the nose cover piece because this is an access point here. We'll wait till we're fully done, committed, before we cover that up. We have the ECU mounted and everything kind of ran through here. It's a little tight. Pretty good. So we're gonna take it to the water. Actually, we're gonna take it to the gas station. I can't test fire it because we don't have any fuel. So we'll go to the gas station, put some fuel in it, and hopefully it'll run and we'll go to the lake. Well, we're getting ready to go to the lake and test the V5 here. I thought I'd take a few seconds and kind of give you guys a quick and brief history on Bullett racing. I moved here about in the turn of the century and I met the guys from Bullett, and I did not realize how big of a player they were in the watercraft industry. But in the early 90s, they had bought a Sea-Doo and realized how ill-handling it was and how many things it didn't do well. So they flipped it over and completely changed the bottom of the ski. And of course, it was such a smashing success. Their next thought, obviously, was to show up at the racetrack and race it against the rest of the people building, modifying Sea-Doos. And they dominated. And of course, that caught the attention of factory Sea-Doo. So the next thing you know, they're building factory Sea-Doo race boats, full carbon fiber. And I actually had the prototype. I actually owned the prototype to the 96 XP. And I believe Tommy Bonacci, the founder of Bomber Eyewear, was the one that took the world title on that boat. And that was all that was all Bullett Racing, their design and execution. Then a few years later, factory Yamaha picks them up and does some fun stuff with them, and they're building factory Yamaha race boats. And I just want to show you guys real fast here. This boat you see in my rafters all the time is a full carbon. It's a Bullett Racing factory Yamaha lightweight GP 1200. This was the predecessor to the GPR, which is actually right next to it. But you can see how light it is. It's probably about 350 pounds. For a sit down, that's unheard of. So then fast forward a few years, and they step away from all this because mod racing is outlawed by the turn of the century. The next thing you know, they're in the stand-ups. The IGSBA's in the stand-ups. They're allowing some other modifications, and the lightweight hulls make a comeback. And by that time, there were grandkids involved. They were coming in of age, and they decided to make stand-ups. So the first thing Bullett did was take a Kawasaki SXR 800, and they made a copy of it. That's what this is. This is called the Bullett V1, the version 1. And it's an SXR 800 with the sponsons built into it. They actually took a 800 with sponsons on it and took a mold off of it. That was their version 1. And then eventually they decided to depart from that and get very inventive. And that's when the V2 came along. That's the Rusty's boat there is a V2.5, I believe, and so is the purple boat above it. That's a V2.5 as well. And then the V3, which I do not have, was a very big success too. That was made for the triples. And then of course you guys all know my V4, which I guess technically is a V4.5, the version 4.5. That was the version 4 was the first boat that they made for the Kawasaki SXR 1500, 160 horse 4-stroke. So that's kind of a quick and dirty rundown of the Bullett Racing's history. Obviously, you guys see we just finished up a version 5, and we'll go down and test ride it and see how it does. So stay tuned. Okay, guys, we've put fuel in it. It's probably not going to fire right up because the fuel injection it deadheads into the fuel rail, so it may take a second to fire up. So once the fuel injection builds pressure like that, it should stay. I'll get a lanyard so I can multitask here. I didn't factor holding the camera and hitting the start button and holding the lanyard. All right. Okay. Lanyard is in. That's a good sound. There's one cylinder. There's one fuel injector. There's the lights. Let's go to the lake.
Whose rig is that?
It's yours. You want it?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah, I want it.
It's Jimmy's friends. He just built it. This is gonna be the first ride.
The first run.
What's that setup in the front? The turn.
Say what?
What's that deal in the front? The front of the seat.
The front. What is that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's access inside. The cover's not on it. There's a cover that covers all this, but there's
I know, yeah.
there's weight in the front. This is access to put the weight in.
Oh, that's a good hole.
Yeah. All right.
And there's
See if it fires. It fires. That's one down. See if it gets water in it.
Make sure it don't have no leaks.
Yeah.
No water yet. Oh, there's a little
one.
water.
There's one. There's two.
We get 3.
Oh, there it is. Does that count? That counts.
That counts. Now, how many leaks you got?
I don't know. Let's see. It's a good sign. I don't see nothing. Nothing is good.
Time for a ride then, huh?
Yes, sir.
Here all day or what?
Heck yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Nice.
Ripping.
Got some laps in, huh? Jimmy,
Yes.
talk to me. What are we doing?
What's that?
Talk to me. What are we doing?
Okay, it's warmed up. Water's flowing, no leaks, no issues. We're gonna go see this make sure it does everything it's supposed to do. We're gonna do a lap around the track.
What you got on you there?
Oh, GPS. We're doing a GPS run.
So
for sure.
we're gonna see what top speed is.
Yeah, remember this is the boat that was 54.8 or whatever.
Okay.
When we first did it in the 1500
You
hull.
moved the motor over to the carbon boat.
Correct.
So now we're gonna get basically a full race version of it.
Yes.
Cool.
Bone stock motor.
Watch out for the
You guys see that?
flying hose people.
They're having fun. How cute is that?
First time I ever seen you pull your lanyard out.
Yeah, it hooked me pretty hard there. That's what I get for not wearing shoes. Gets a little slick. All right, what's that say here? $55.6, huh?
55.6. That's our top
Considering
speed.
the waves are 18 inches tall at the smallest, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, the waves are pretty big, so we got to add a few mile an hour, but we'll come back when the water's a little better. Runs good though. Does everything supposed to do. Does the corners, turns, lays in, punches, comes out of the buoys nice. So it's a keeper. Thanks for watching.